Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Devin Haney defeats Jorge Linares by a 12-round unanimous decision and in turn also overcomes the first adversity of his career to date. And all in all, this was a relatively good performance by Devin Haney. If I was grading it out of 10, I would say maybe like a 7.5. So a solid performance, things to improve on, a few rocky moments here and there. But all in all, I thought he looked okay in certain parts of this fight. I felt he started this fight very well in the early rounds. He kind of did what I expected, what I felt he should do. And that was maintaining range, boxing behind the jab. I liked how he was varying the jab, going from body to head. He was also picking that nice straight right hand to body and head as well, and also like a looping right hand to the body also. So in the first sort of 3-4 rounds of his fight, maybe 5 rounds, Haney was boxing behind the jab, keeping Linares at arm's length, and he wasn't allowing Linares to get to the mid-range where he's most effective. Linares really couldn't box with Haney on the outside. That's what I figured going into this fight. And yeah, Haney did a good job of keeping it on the outside. So yeah, in the first 5 or 6 rounds, Haney was being the outboxer. He was making the most of his quicker feet and longer reach. And yeah, I felt he was actually looking really good in the first half of this fight when he was boxing. He was actually walking Linares into nice straight right hand counters as well, picking some real nice shots. I thought the jab in the first 6 rounds or so was excellent, varied, accurate, consistent. I thought Devin Haney was boxing really well in the first 6 rounds of this fight. Linares really wasn't having all that much success. He landed with a few left hooks here and there and a couple of nice right hands to the body, but all in all, the work Linares was doing in the first 6 rounds wasn't all that consistent, and it didn't happen enough on a regular basis. So yeah, Haney was doing a good job of shutting Linares out in the first half of this fight. After the 6th round, I think Devin Haney got comfortable, and at that point he decided to try and put on a little more pressure, coming forward behind his guard, firing the jab, getting to the mid-range and working the body of Linares, and he was scoring with several good shots when he was doing that. He was still winning some of these rounds when he was aggressive, but the only thing was he didn't look as good doing that as he did when he was boxing earlier on in this fight, because it gave Linares a chance to land shots. And in the second half of this fight, I felt Linares did land more shots in the mid-range when Haney was fighting in that distance. Linares was finding that left hook a bit more regularly, and he was definitely finding a lot more body shots than he was earlier on in this fight. So yeah, I felt after the 6th round, Haney got more comfortable, and as a result he started to take a few more risks here and there, and that definitely gave Linares an avenue for some success. Round 9, Linares actually caught Devin Haney with a nice right hand left uppercut combination. I don't think the right hand landed, but the left uppercut did, and you could tell that it dipped the knees of Devin Haney. Definitely a stinging shot and a warning sign for Devin Haney. In this fight, even when Haney was boxing, I felt he was doing a real good job, but occasionally he would switch off, like he would hold his feet, or maybe get a little too greedy, and he would get caught. So yeah, in the first half of this fight, when Haney was getting caught on the odd occasion, that was mainly down to concentration, and the second half was down to the style which he was fighting, being more aggressive. But yeah, Haney got caught with a real nice uppercut in the 9th round. Haney definitely felt it, and in round 10, Haney was caught by another big shot. This time it was a combination by Linares, and it culminated in a right hand over the top. Haney was trying to roll it, but he got it wrong. He got caught bang on the chin, flush, and that was towards the end of round 10, like the last sort of few seconds of a round, and Haney was definitely hurt. He wobbled back to his corner. You could tell that his legs were shaky, so, if that happened a bit earlier on in the round, who knows what would have happened. But, and in round 11, Devin Haney came out, and he really didn't look all that comfortable. I think he was still hurt. Linares was trying to apply pressure, but he got left hook happy, trying to find one single left hook, and he was catching Haney at times, but for me, he needed to put a lot more pressure on, throw a lot more combinations, go to the body, and be a lot more relentless than he was. I felt in round 11, after Haney got hurt in round 10, Linares kind of let Devin Haney off a hook, and after round 10, Devin Haney was holding a lot. You know, he felt the power, he got hurt in round 9 and round 10, and after that, you know, Devin Haney went into a shell, and basically he saw the rest of his fight out by running, holding, and basically spoiling his way to victory. So, yeah, to me, this was a fight of two halves for Devin Haney. I genuinely felt he looked really good in the first half. I felt he was boxing really nice behind that jab, picking some good shots, a lot more attention to defense, not getting caught as much. But in the second half, he decided to be a bit more aggressive. He got caught a bit more, didn't look as comfortable applying that pressure. And like I say, rounds 9 and rounds 10, he got hurt. So, yeah, first half of this fight, Devin Haney looked really good. Second half, he looked a little bit vulnerable. So, it was a mixed performance, but all in all, overall, I guess you would say it was a solid performance. And ultimately, probably the right fight at the right time for Devin Haney. Of course, he's still only 22 years old. Before this fight, his resume wasn't anything to talk about. Linares was clearly the best guy he's been in the ring with. He got the win. He learnt a few things, and I think this will be good for his experience going forwards. And yeah, ultimately, I want to see Devin Haney in one of these mega fights at lightweight, Ryan Garcia or Teofimo Lopez. I think those fights are exceptionally interesting, at least in my opinion, because I do see Devin Haney having the boxing ability, the boxing know-how to give these guys a lot of problems, both Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez. If Devin Haney's moving, boxing, and being a bit more passive, I think both Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia really struggle with that style, because Ryan Garcia and Teofimo are kind of quick off the draw counter punchers, real nice hand speed, real explosive. But if you make these guys force the initiative and make these guys chase the fight, I'm not convinced that Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney are great pressure fighters. So I think Devin Haney's style can give both guys a lot of problems. But of course, you know, I think if those fights did happen, whether it's Haney versus Garcia or Haney versus Lopez, when Haney's not getting hurt, when he's boxing his fight, I think he'll win rounds against both guys. But both guys have the power to, in my opinion, hurt and maybe knock out Devin Haney, you know, when he switches off or when he gets overconfident. That's why I find those fights exceptionally interesting. If those fights went 12 rounds and there was no knockdowns or anything like that, I do think Devin Haney beats both Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez. But can he get to the bell? Can he avoid those big shots for 12 rounds? I'm not sure. That's why I'm very interested in those fights. And hopefully we see those fights ASAP. I know a lot of people are very critical of Devin Haney's performance against Linares, and definitely there are things to be concerned about if you're a Haney fan, for example. But all in all, I felt he showed some good attributes in there. He showed some good boxing ability. He showed some good skill. But on the flip side, there are vulnerabilities there. So I think the future for Devin Haney, providing he gets these fights, could be very interesting. But all in all, 7.5 out of 10 for Devin Haney. Got things to work on. But at the same time, he's clearly got a level of talent that a lot of fighters don't have. So it's going to be interesting to see where Devin Haney goes from here. Is it going to be Javier Fortuna? I know he's a WBC mandatory of some kind. I think that'll be a good fight for Devin Haney. But ultimately, I'd rather see Devin Haney fight Ryan Garcia or Teofimo Lopez. No more effing about, no more playing A side, B side, all that nonsense. Let's get these fights on. Let's see who's the best. I really want to see those fights. So yeah, interesting fight, decent fight. And yeah, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Del Boy. Peace.